So now that you've selected all the forms that you believe that you're going to initially need for this particular transaction, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hide this little panel over here. And now you can see a list of the forms. Now, one thing I want to point out is that your screen may look a little bit different than mine because I'm kind of, if you will, sort of compressing it a little bit. So this little thing over here would be a little bit to the right, but I'm going to go down here just so you see this is where all of our forms are that we've selected for the transaction. And I'm going to go ahead here and just double click on the cover sheet, and this is where we start the transaction. You'll notice that the form has loaded. One thing that's really kind of important is that if I need to select another form, I can just go over here and pull this out just like I did before. If I need to see what forms I've already selected for my transaction, then I can pull over here and I can go down here and I can actually go ahead and switch forms if I want to, and it will load that particular form. I can go back again to the cover sheet. So it allows me to easily switch back and forth between the forms. So the bottom line is there's a lot of ways to get to the information that you basically need. Now what I'm going to do now is I just want to go through this cover sheet. The cover sheet consists of 4 pages. And on the first page it's going to ask, who is the buyer? Now in our particular case we're entering the transaction dealing with where we're listing the house. So we may not know who the buyer is right now. But anyway, this is where the buyer is, where we add the buyer. And I want you to notice too, there's a little box over here. And it says check this box if you would like an X to appear on all signatures and initial lines. And this becomes important because remember, it's absolutely crucial that your clients sign all of the places and initial all of the places that they have to. And by doing this little box here, it will put an X on the form. So anyway, we have the buyer's cover sheet right here, or the buyer's information, which we may not know right off the bat. If we're working with a buyer to start with and we're going to put a purchase offer in, we may very well, that's our client, we'll fill it out on the buyer's side. But in our case, we're working with the person that's trying to sell the house first, so that would be the seller's information. So we have seller 1, seller 2. Sometimes people say, what do we mean by seller 1, seller 2? You could say one is the husband, one is the wife. So that would be the kind of information you have. And then this is the end of page 1 of 4. Then this has to do with the transaction sheet itself. So this is where we're putting in things like the multiple listing number, the street address of the property, the city, the state, the zip code, legal description, all of that. We'll cover that in other tutorials. Next thing we have is the escrow information. So this would be like, for example, in our case we're using Placer Title. So it could be Placer Title Company. Remember in Northern California, the escrow company and the title company are normally the same company. So then down below here we have the transaction cover sheet. This cover sheet for this page, which is going to be the selling broker. Remember, selling broker is the person that's working with the buyer. I know it's kind of confusing, but they're working with the buyer. And remember that as a real estate agent, it's your broker that you're working for. It's your broker who manages your transactions. It's your broker who owns your listings. So that's why we're going to put the selling broker in here, which might be somebody like Century 21 or RE Max or Keller Williams. Okay, that's what would go here. This would be the listing broker. Okay, and if the buyer and the listing broker are the same, that would be the same information. This would be the lender information. This is who is going to be getting, you're going to be getting the loan from. So this would be, for example, Wells Fargo Bank, Bank of America, whoever the lender is that you're working with. Okay, this would be the appraiser, the real estate appraiser. This would be the title company, and again, normally in Northern California, title company and escrow company are the same company, but you'd put this information in here. This is the pest control. Remember, in most cases, that when you sell a house, there's a requirement, normally by lenders or whoever's going to guarantee or insure the loan, that they want to make sure there's no termite damage or water damage or dry rot. So it's the name of the company that's going to do the inspection. This is the disclosure statement. This is who the company you're going to contract with. They're going to provide things like where are the flood zones, where are the earthquake, any hazardous materials in the area, things along that nature. This is the name of the company that you would use for the home warranty. In many cases, sellers will turn around and buy a home warranty policy for the buyer. These are normally bought through the title company or the escrow company. And you can always, if you're an agent, you should probably have several brochures so clients can take a look at that and know what they're going to be buying and what's covered. This down here is if there's a homeowners association. Many homes today, newer homes, are in an association. Even if they're single family homes, they're in some kind of a community, a gated community of some sort. Or you'll usually see where condominiums and townhouses will at least be, because they need an association to manage the general areas of the public, the areas that are available to everybody, like the swimming pool, and cut the lawn and trim the bushes and fix the sprinkler systems. So there'd be an association. And that's the end. And the reason why you fill out the cover sheet is so that you fill out this information one time and then it is copied to the other forms. So I wanted to give you an overview of this cover sheet, and then when we come back, what we're going to specifically be doing is we're going to be focusing on the seller's information to start with. And what I'm going to want to do is to be emphasizing to you that the system starts to learn the information as you put it in. So you'll start to see how that works. Initially, it seems like it's a really arduous process, but later on you'll find out that it is not. Once you put in some initial information, that information can be used over and over again. It does two things. It makes your job easier, and also it makes it so that the forms are more accurate, so you don't spell the person's name correct on one form and incorrect on another form, or have the address correct on one form and incorrect on another one. By filling it out one time and making sure it's correct, it'll be correct on all the forms. So when we come back, we'll be moving into that.